This is the Reflector Reflections podcast. My name is Annie. Join me as we journey around the world, talking with fellow human design reflectors as they experiment and navigate their unique design. Today's beautiful conversation is with Mindy. Mindy is a 2-5 reflector, is an inspiring speaker, a passionate educator, and a highly sought after transformational coach. She's the leading lady at Mindy Lutch Coaching, where she works one-on-one, in groups, and offers programs to empower those who are drawn to her to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. Welcome, Mindy.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet you and get to chat about all things reflectors.
I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking this time.
Yay.
We were just chatting off air about your beautiful picture behind you, which is Saint Germain, and your lovely pendant that you're wearing. We always get into these nice little esoterical discussions.
Yes, labradorite is one of my favorite stones. It's very grounding and protecting, and I call it my whoopee. I don't leave home without it generally.
Oh, I love that. Whereabouts are you coming to us from today, Mindy?
I live near Lake Tahoe in California, like on the border of California and Nevada in the mountains.
Yeah.
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's absolutely gorgeous, and very quiet.
Oh, that sounds divine. Oh, we could all do with some quiet right now. So let's talk about you. Mindy, share with us how you found human design or human design found you.
I was on Facebook one day, and a friend of a friend, her name's Janelle Turner, was talking about human design. And I've been so interested in all things spiritual for 25 years. And it was something that I had never heard of. And I'm like, how is this possible? And so she ran my chart and she was like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I've ever ran somebody's chart and you're a reflector. And so she started telling me a little about it. And I was just so amazed because it literally describes me in every way. And the first thing that I thought of is on my Facebook page, like about 7-10 years ago, Facebook started where you could write a line underneath your name. And the first thing and the only thing I've ever had under there is I am a mirror of you.
Wow.
And it's just kind of been like my thing, even before realizing that I was a reflector. So I was just like in shock, and like started from the get-go. I knew like there's really something to this. Like this is real. Like, learn about this.
Yeah. So you said that there was shock, and then you just kind of, the emotions that you went through, like, some of us, we go through this shock and then we go through happiness and then we go through, oh my God, what does this mean? How did that impact you emotionally?
Emotionally, it was it was satisfying in that there was like a reason, right? Like, so I could understand myself on deeper levels because I had been studying, the spirituality and metaphysics and basically myself for 25 years, and I had understood so much of me in general. And then there was like this whole nother layer of like opening up this huge sea. And it's like, have you ever like, I haven't understood it on such a connected level before. And then all the pieces started pulling together. And so I I understand how some people may feel differently, but for me, it was always a very grounded, like stepping into myself and my knowing. So it was all very empowering and fascinating.
I love that you say that we've you've kind of always known that, being the mirror, like it's something deep down that you knew. And I'm a big advocate for that, that it's just everything we know is always inside of us, but we get caught in the rip, or that, that just the random crap. But when we kind of come into that and we can accept it, it feels true because we know it's true. So I really love that you said that it was just a truth, and that you even wrote about it wrote about being a mirror. I love that.
Absolutely. And throughout my years of learning with different teachers, I've learned so many different techniques for like protection in the morning and your prayers, everybody kind of has all these different ideas. And forever ago, one of my teachers said, what I like to do is I like to protect, surround myself with mirrors. So I ask my guides that I'm surrounded with mirrors facing outward. And the first time I heard that, I was like, and I tried it, I was like, this works for me. Like, it's like, even though I've learned maybe 20, 30 different techniques since, it was the one thing that I was like, yes, like I feel really supported. Like, you think of a mirror as like this really solid surface, like nothing can break through a mirror, And so it was like, it's always been the one thing that every morning I prayed, and that was how I felt most protected. So then again, with the learning about being a reflector, it was just like kind of blowing my mind of like, wow, of course that works for you. It just all makes so much sense now.
You're at the top of the class before you even started. You didn't even have to try. You just were.
Yeah, and just kind of that inner knowing more too of like you mentioned, like everything is inside of us, right? Like, and people can teach us things, and we can learn and see what other people's working for them, but truly it's a inner trying of all the things, right? Like the
Absolutely.
sampling of the reflector part, and it's like, is that working for you? Does that work?
Yeah. And you're saying there before, just to use that, and not that it is the way it is, but the mirror, it's a hard surface, and it's just hitting up against this hard surface. But that's not who we are. Have you found that? Obviously, from what they were trying to teach you is probably like, be a mirror, be solid and reflect. But even though there is a reflection, it flows through us. Have you found there's a difference there from what you were taught to what you feel now?
Yes, absolutely. Where it's more now of like that, the fluid openness where nothing is sticking, right? Like everything is flowing through, and understanding that it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And me getting out of the way. If that makes any sense.
It does. Me getting out of the way makes complete sense, because sometimes it is like that, isn't it? It's just like, well, I'll actually just remove myself, because I'm not enhancing this situation. I'm probably just antagonizing it, which is needed. Right. But at the same time, I think that's a self-awareness too, isn't it? Where we can go, I'm needed in this situation, but sometimes we know we can be we just need to step back. again going. We just step back a bit and go, whoa.
Right. Yes, I definitely feel that stepping back. Absolutely.
So your journey in finding human design, how long have you been on your journey for, Mindy?
It's been about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of read and like binge out on all things videos and books, and oh my gosh, and then I kind of absorb it and embody it and really feel it. And started to learn some of like the gene key stuffs and how that comes together, and really trying to like absorb and then embody and really observe how it's showing itself in my life.
Yeah, I love that's what you're doing, because that's really important. If we don't we can kind of get caught into that, researching, or, going down those rabbit holes, but taking time to actually breathe it and feel it, so we understand it
Right.
at that body level, opposed to this thinky bit.
Right,
Thinky bit.
exactly. And there truly is so much to learn about it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just infinite amounts of information, and how it relates with other people, and how we can use it, and who we surround ourselves with. And I mean, I've hardly even gotten to the whole moon phases and all of that part. Like, I mean, it's I'm intrigued about it, but it's also kind of overwhelming of like, oh my gosh, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, and when we are, because we're naturally inclined to be multimodality, aren't we? So, when we're dealing, or when we're not dealing's not the right word, but when we're in spiritual practice, as you are, and you're in this space of multimodality, it's hard to kind of want to funnel into one. It's like you want to be kind of aware and observing all of them, so that you, as you were saying before, you can kind of pull it into everything that you're doing, instead of just, this is how it is, instead of, I'm just going to make this spread across everything and use it in conjunction. Do you find that as well in your business?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. Where it fits some parts even more, and then some parts, it flows in certain directions, and then sometimes it doesn't in other parts. And so I really just try not to judge it or push it, or really understand it on my human brain, like, and
Yeah,
really just feel it.
I love that. Just feel it. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this. You're 2-5. You're the first 2-5 I've had on this show. So thank you. And the 2-5s and the 2-4s, they really intrigue me a lot, because using the human design language, that second line is very much a hermit. It's very down there. Whereas your fifth line, it's very out there. So it's like you've got that, come and get me, but leave me alone. Come and get me, but look, leave me alone, but come and get me. Do you find that you're pulled a little bit in your life in that regard?
Abs 1,000%, absolutely. And I kind of always have. And it's intriguing to me when I first learned that, because I one of my greatest passions is live music, and I see a lot of live music. And so that entails being around large groups of people, like huge groups of people.
Yeah.
And it being so in with everybody. And then generally I'll come home, and I live in the middle of nowhere, so it's so easy for me to be that hermit. But then that desire of being with a lot of people and having fun and joy, and being in these crowds, is also what fills my cup. So it's interesting to like have both, and I've very much needed both my whole life, whether I realized what it was. But then once I kind of learned about it and I realized it, it's like, because I love to travel and being where I am, I have to, my social everything, my fun and everything is generally when I travel and leave. And so
Yeah.
it's both. It's I go out, I have fun, I'm around people, and then I'm a hermit.
Yeah. And I love that you've got that beautiful quiet space to be able to do
Yeah.
that. Has your life always been like that, Mindy? Have you always had that quieter space, or is it something that you naturally gravitated towards?
That's a good question. I've always had the desire to be and see music. So I've always, like, ever since I've been in high school, I've always done the whole big crowd thing and like fun. And that's like what I do for fun. So that's always been there. And then I've also really enjoyed being alone. But I think in my younger years, I thought that that wasn't normal. And so that wasn't what I was supposed to do. And
Yeah.
so I think I've embraced it more now that I understand, like, truly, I need this for myself. And this is how I recharge. And so luckily, I've been able to give myself that.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So little
Mhm.
Mindy growing up, can we talk about little Mindy?
Yes.
Not in a psychological sense by any means, but what were you like as a kid going into your teenage years? Like, now that you know that you're a reflector, how did that impact your life?
I was always, and still am, very emotional, like always emotional. And like as a little kid, I was so curious. I would ask 1,000 questions, like, why is the sky blue? Why is this like this? And finally, it was like, okay, you've asked enough questions today. So I was very inquisitive and I wanted to learn and know everything. But I was always very emotional, very emotional. And my dad is a manifesting generator. Most people in my life are manifesting generators, and they had no idea what to do with my emotions. Like, no clue. Like, because it just, like, I grew up in the Midwest. Like, I hadn't even heard the term empath
Yeah.
or anything like that until later. But and then I was like, oh, that makes sense too. So I was kind of like, my parents were afraid of my emotions because they didn't understand them. And so I kind of got a lot of like, oh, here she goes again. Like, if I would start crying. And so I was kind of like, put a damper on them because I didn't understand them. They didn't understand them. And now I look at it thinking, oh, I was actually either picking up your emotions and they may have even belonged to you. So um it was it forced me to understand my emotions on
Yeah.
a really deep level as an adult, and to be able to understand them all and be able to help people to understand their emotions, because I get it now. I fully understand them now.
Mm. And I guess, going through that as a child, like if people don't understand your emotions, you possibly felt that you have to suppress so much of who you are because
Mhm.
it makes other people uncomfortable. And I find that
Absolutely.
I've got 3 second lines in my life. My daughter is a 2/4 projector. My partner is a 2/4 generator, and my other daughter is a 2/4 generator. And all of them have, especially the projector daughter, she's highly emotional. And I'm highly emotional too, but I think I've been taught to suppress, whereas she's still young. She's only 6. And so hearing that from you is really valuable, because sometimes it's not them, it's us is uncomfortable. Sorry, that is uncomfortable with the
Right.
emotion. It's not their emotional, it's just us feeling uncomfortable with somebody expressing emotion.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I feel like a lot of parents get that now and embrace it more. There's like little dolls with with emotions, and there's emotions charts, and there's the smiley faces and all these things that, like, I think we're doing a good thing as a society to embrace kids' emotions, and like books about emotions and things like that. And I mean, maybe they existed back in the 70s and 80s, but
Yeah.
I I never had them, that's for sure. So um I'm grateful now, looking back at it in perspective, that I did go through that so that I could understand it and learn the most I can from everything that I went through.
Yeah. And by the sounds of things, it's led you to get into the work that you're getting into. Like, you've had to do all of that work to be able to support others and hold them. Can we talk about like the work that you're currently doing with your coaching?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I I love to help people going through spiritual transformation, giving them tools to understanding what they're going through, how to thrive, how to find more joy, how to understand unconditional love and acceptance while getting to the root, like truly getting to the root of what's holding them back, whether it's I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm not enough. Generally most of us have those deep down. But unwinding all of that to getting to just stepping out of it all and really stepping out of it all, because we can choose to just leave all the past in the past and do our work, and but paying attention to what's coming up now so that we can heal what's coming up now. And that will get into the past, but not just having to dig into the past and just dealing with what's still coming up for us.
I love that. Sounds magnificent what you're doing.
Thanks. I when I realized the whole reflector part of that too, it really helped me to understand that I am reflecting back to them, right? Like truly they're telling me everything just by their wording, and I'm reflecting back to them, um and seeing what they're saying and what they're doing, to be able to be that reflection. And that really helped me to kind of see it from this other perspective, because I'm very intuitive and knowing and psychic abilities and all of that, but it's really when people ask me questions that I learn everything I need to know from just their question. And I feel like that is the reflector part of like reflecting back to them by any question that they're asking. And that changed. I thought that it was just like oh, I'm receiving the download of the answer to their question, but really it's I'm reflecting it back to them.
Yeah. And that can be quite confronting when they're not prepared to hear that answer or see it.
Yes, I am pretty blunt. I am. I am. I mean, I think that we need to be, right? Like if we're always just kind of skirting around it and
Mm.
finding ways to like gently say some things, then it's not, it's sometimes we just need to hear it in that way. And some of my teachers, when with like doing healing work and things like that, like focusing on things like people with cancer and terminal illnesses and stuff, it's like you can't really not just go straight for what's coming up,
Yeah.
right? Like it has to be really direct, and sometimes that may not be settling well, or like at first, like one of my teachers says that the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off, like that can definitely like, yep, that's the truth. So yes, that but I do feel like most people who do gravitate towards me kind of understand that I'm blunt in that way,
Yeah.
so it's not shocking.
Well, and that's what you're saying there before too. If you want real results, sometimes you need to hear your own bullshit. Like
Right.
you can't be told all the time that you're amazing and you're perfect and you're doing the best job and good job, Annie, and good job. You need to be told, hey, you this is something that you need to look at. This is what you're doing. So I love that. We
Right.
need more truth tellers,
We
don't
do.
we?
And even just the reflection of what they did, what they just said,
Yeah.
right? Like if you want one thing and you're saying a totally different thing, it's
Yeah.
like, but you just said this, right? Like it's like, but oh, you don't even realize that what you're going for and what you believe are two totally different things, and you can't believe both of them.
Yeah. And being able to offer that what you're doing with your business, that takes a lot of courage, and that takes a lot of self-awareness, that obviously you've worked at it for a really long time, because when we're uneasy, which happens a lot to us, especially when we first find out about ourselves, even though, as you were saying, you've done a lot of work for a lot of years. And then when you found this, you're like, oh my gosh, I was the same. It was just like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd kind of been doing a lot of work, but now I realize, but that's a confidence level to be able to, really go, no, I know me. I know who I am. I'm calling you on that.
Yes. I do notice the whole like hermit part of that. Like, I want to be seen. I don't want to be seen. I want to be seen. I don't want to be seen. Like, I definitely fall into that a lot in my coaching of like, oh, I'd love to be on, the TV show and have all the things. And then I'm like, do I really? Like, I'm happy helping, whoever comes to me, or, it's like, I'm open for anything, universe. I'm open for it all. But I do have that like back and forth in my head sometimes of the hermit, and then, oh, you want to be seen, and then no, you don't.
Yeah. And you know what, the hermit line with your second line there can keep you sort of like a little bit more, behind the scenes. But then you've got also the pressure of the fifth line, and fifth line, fifth lines, we get projected on so much, and that can become very unsettling, because it's like, then we have a fear of stepping out into our truth, because it's just like, oh, the pressure to know. And something that I've found a lot with human design is, as we kind of get a little bit older, it's like our second line, so your fifth line, is probably really starting to kick in a bit. Because I know my first line is starting to kick in a little bit. Could be something, I don't know, I'm testing the waters here, but they're always working together. But I find that when we sort of get past that, 30, or as we sort of get into those later years, that second number starts to kick in a bit more. Have you found that at all, with that people projecting onto you? And
I do. I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but now that you say that, that does make sense. I was thinking of it more in the sense of just the putting yourself out there, so that would happen. But that does make sense, with that, it's actually like that's becoming more apparent. And I was reading about that, with my husband being a 6'2", and how some of the different ages it changes. And that was the first time I had kind of read about that in human design. So now that you say that, that does make sense, that could be happening, or yes.
You've got some beautiful awareness there. I think it'll be like you'll just stand in your truth, which is really amazing. So your family dynamic, you're saying that your husband's a 6'2". Is he a generator?
Manifesting generator.
Yep.
Yeah. We work really well together. We've been married for 23 years. And he's a go manifesting generator, and then I'm like, chill. And so a lot of times we have separate schedules. So sometimes he works at night, so we sleep apart, which is helpful for reflectors. And just really giving each other space. Like, it's so important for both of us, really. And we just work really well together. It's wonderful. I love it.
That
But
does
we
sound good.
also don't have kids and stuff like that, so it's like we're able to like really focus on what we're doing and what we want to do, instead of it's all about family and kids and going to school and all of that. So
That sounds
easier.
Beautiful. And he probably gives you that energy or provides you, that energy to go. And he's got that second line, which you have, so you can understand. Have you noticed throughout, as you're saying, you've been married for 23 years, and with that sixth line, it does go through the three phases. So very much an experimental for the first 30 years, and then getting into that kind of, getting up on the roof. Have you found that with him? Have you found he's changed?
Yes. Absolutely, 1,000%. And he's turning 50 this year. And so that's kind of like that where that second one or that third one comes in. And I was like, okay, I can definitely see this. Absolutely. And just like standing in the power of who he is, and just owning that. And he's brilliant. Like, he's an engineer, he's very smart, super smart, and all these ideas. So understanding, learning what he was, it definitely like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, my dad's a manifesting generator, and my brother, who's my best friend, he's a manifesting generator too. So like, okay. Um, but growing up, it was definitely like, it made a lot of sense with like the frustration and the anger part,
Yeah.
of like growing up. And it was like, oh, that's where I get that from, because I definitely can reflect that in people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Frustration more.
yeah, and you know this now about yourself, and you know this about your husband. Has it, I don't know if you've shared it with him or sort of communicated and got him on board with it, but has it altered your relationship in any way? Or are you've always naturally gravitated towards this way of being?
I definitely like sent him videos and stuff, and he hasn't really embraced it at all. And I'm like, okay, whatever, like, I know it, and so it really doesn't matter. And then when I was like mentioning that I was doing this today, he's like, huh, what? I'm like, remember the videos I sent you? I'm like, yeah. Like, if you want to learn about it, great. I'll give you tools, otherwise, like, I'm not going to force somebody to do
Yeah.
it. But once like it, I see it. Like, I can
Yeah.
totally see it. And so it helps me kind of to be that reflection, and to capture that energy too. It helps to get everything moving and get me more motivated and all that kind of stuff to go go go.
Yeah. My partner's the same. He's kind of, he understands and he appreciates it, but he's not into it like I am. But at the same time, it's benefited me because I know how to approach him better. I know how to deal with my children better. Well, I feel I do, and it's proven. Like I've proven it over the last few years. Even friends, I know kind of how to kind of, no, I don't want to say manipulate, but you know what I mean. I know how to work for their energy type. If
Mhm.
you know, if I want to communicate, or I want something from them, even if I just want them to confide in me a little bit, I know how to sort of step back a little bit, or I know how to invite. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, human design, sometimes like that, when we can understand, and it helps us be better parents, partners, coaches, employees.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've always kind of had that like ability when you're with somebody to kind of like mask their energy and to kind of like flow with it, like if you're like staying in somebody's home or something, like really like, trying to make it seamless so that you're not like a bother, or you know what I mean? Like, just really like reflecting back their energy and like reading the room, I guess they call it, like
Yeah.
kind of always had that ability to like to um to reflect back what the other people's energies are like, and to kind
Yeah.
of be in it.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. It's something that I've always had, even as a child. I used to sort of just sit back and I'd be watching and just monitoring. And then I'd feel something shift, and I'd be like, straight away, you just look to a person, a little girl or a little boy, and you'd think you didn't know how to deal with it at the time because you were really young. But looking back now, I can understand exactly. And I still do it. I can't help myself. I'll still sit in
Yeah.
in, in a group, but I know now to keep my opinions to myself. I think, as a younger me, I didn't. I would just be like, that person's, it's just like, be quiet. Oh, so I love that you said that, because
Yeah.
I think it's one of our really special gifts. And they say that about reflectors. We are the observers. But it can be very hard because we can just see situations so clearly. We just know exactly what's happening in a room, and maybe not even intellectually know what's happening in a room, but we feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that understanding too really helps with my coaching part, because it all clicks so much. Like I completely understand. Like boom, 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 boom. Like it just all clicks, and I can see it from this completely different perspective. And it feels like a superpower, like it all makes so much sense, looking at it from that outside reflection. Makes it easy.
Yeah, and it makes it, you kind of feel in alignment with life, because you know you're doing this because it just feels right.
Yeah, absolutely,
Really just,
absolutely. Yeah, because for so long, I was doing massage and body work and more physical touch healing
yeah,
in general, but I was always intrigued in like the more coaching, the chatting, the digging, the um, you know, talking to other people's guides and all of that part. So it was like I always knew which direction I wanted to take with it, but I also enjoy all aspects of healing and
yeah.
understanding all of it.
Was your spiritual side, was it always there as a young girl? Like, have you always been led to the healing arts and metaphysical?
No, not at all. Not as a child. I grew up in the Midwest, and it was just very straightforward, like I didn't have any spirituality in my life at all until until I was like a senior in high school. And one of my brother's friends went to massage school. And this was like I had never, like, massage was not a thing in the Midwest in the mid 90s. So
Yeah,
it was like I was like, what is that? And she just like, it was her presence. There was just something about, I was just like, wow, that sounds so cool. Like it just intrigued me.
yeah,
And that I went to 1 year of college, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. And unfortunately, I was experiencing extreme sciatic pain, and it was, oh my gosh, it was excruciating. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to massage school. And so I went to the school that my friend went to. And I mean, there was only like two in the country at the time. There weren't very many back in the mid 90s. So um and then it worked so well for me to get out of sciatic pain. And I was like, this works. Oh my gosh. And then I just started learning every healing modality that interested me, and everything metaphysical. And it was so once I learned about it, I was all in. Like I totally got it. It was like a complete change. And but I literally had nothing. Like I remember my aunt gave me a crystal, one a quartz crystal, and that was the only thing spiritual or metaphysical that I had at all, and that was still probably in high school.
yeah. There's a big thing about us reflectors, that if we're not in a really good environment, then it can manifest in so many different ways. And just you saying
Mhm.
that there about the sciatic pain when you went to college and it got worse, and you think back, you go, you weren't. And then as soon as you started being in the right space for you, it got better. It's like
Right.
there's a little bit of proof there, isn't it? That it's,
Yes.
we really take it on. The body keeps score.
Mm. I
And
mean, and I had to be uncomfortable. I had to be so uncomfortable that I moved across the country.
incredible. And that first crystal that you were given,
Yeah, you can't
it's
write this stuff.
something that's led you to, obviously now you've got your own jewelry, you make your own jewelry and things like that. And there's a
Yeah.
story. Would you like to share that one?
Yeah, I've always loved jewelry and gemstones. And so I started making gemstone jewelry and infusing Reiki and just energetic healing in general. My line's called Divine Healing Jewelry. So I love to like infuse it with all the good energy, and writing little cards so that people can understand the metaphysical properties. And that's even just creation in general, when somebody understands, like, oh, this is my protection bracelet and things like that. And it just brings me so much joy to like watch people like pick out their piece or help them figure out which one is best for them, and it just brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
And then I started doing some stuff with silver,
Yep.
more recreatable things, because my gemstone stuff was all one of a kind mostly. So it was kind of harder to have a website and stuff. And so I work with a lot of music inspired designs in my silver line. So just different like music notes with hearts and peace signs and music signs all together. And like I do a lot of heart designs with my logo. That's kind of like an infinite heart type design. You'll have to check it out.
Oh,
But
wow.
it brings me a lot of joy to like work with symbols and things to represent love, and remind people of their divinity and unconditional love and all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
And working with your hands, it really gets you into that creative space, and it allows you to get those theta brainwaves going. It's such a beautiful space when we're in that. We don't do it enough for ourselves, I think, when we I just want to draw, or I just want to create. And I love that you said that about that you infuse your jewelry with your energy and high vibrational energy, because I've just in the last year or so, I found a lady who I buy pieces from. She does copper wrapping, and I just feel it every time I get a piece from her. I just think, oh, I love this. It feels so good. Whereas you could go and buy something different just from a different shop in a mall or whatever, and it's just not the same. Just every time I wear it, I just feel good, because it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's something
Yeah.
magical about that. So yeah, I have to definitely check out your shop.
Yeah. No,
Spend
there
all the
truly
money.
is something so magical about it. And like I would go to the gem show in Tucson and like meet the families that were like making the beads, and like I mean, and like pick the ones with the best energy. And I mean, it was just so rewarding. And I work with some people in Bali to help with some of my silver stuff. And it's just, I love to be able to help those beautiful families as well, you know. So it's 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 rewarding to me. I love it. And it works well with coaching too, to be able to kind of like have a reminder, you know, of like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
um do my affirmations, or oh yeah, protection, you know. So it works, it everything kind of works so well together in the metaphysical world and the spiritual world. It works really well together.
That is amazing. Yeah. And I love that you said that. It all just kind of blends together. And I never thought about it like that, a piece, a beautiful bracelet that you've made for one of your clients, that could be reminded of the affirmations that I have to do. That's perfect. Oh,
Right.
you're an amazing
Yeah.
person. Love it. How can we keep in touch with you, Mindy? I love what you're doing. Let's share with everybody how they can keep in touch with you.
Um, I my website is mindylutchcoaching.com, and Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there. And then divinehealingjewelry.com is my website. And Divine Healing Jewelry or on Facebook as well has a lot of my photos. Um, and yeah, message me. I love to give back as well, as you know, the law of circulation and giving and receiving. So if anyone wants to have a free session as well, I do some breakthrough sessions. I like to give out a certain amount per month, so message me and we can try to work some magic together, and tell the universe what we want, right? Like we have to tell the universe what we want. I think that it's something that we forget, like understanding what we want, deciding what we want, going for it, and like learning how to do it, right? Like learn how to tell the universe, okay, I want this, and find ways to to match that frequency and that vibration. And so I love to talk about that with people, and I love people in general. So um, you can message me from my website, and we can have a chat and see what if we work well together.
Oh, sounds amazing. So one question before we kind of wrap up
Yeah.
was, you like music and you like going to a lot of the big concerts with lots of people. Do
Yeah.
you obviously you don't suffer from the overwhelm of that, or is it just something that you've put in place to be able to allow you to be in that exposed space?
Um, I I think I've figured it out. I figured it out. One thing that helps me a lot is where I stand. And so I'm really picky about like finding that perfect spot
Yeah.
and staying there generally. And I do so much energetic work, putting grids in place and just trying to heal the world and the planet and the all of us. And so it's really about where I stand. And so if I stand, like for example, if I stand in the front, like in the first row, that really helps me,
Yeah.
because it's like that give and take, right? It's that ebb and flow of the music.
Yeah.
And so there's something about being able to absorb it throughout my whole body as well. So standing in the front really helps, or like standing in the front on like a balcony so that I'm in the front and it's like this revolving energetic exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that really helps. If I'm in a crowd and like fully crowded and like just the music is above me, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It has to be kind of like open where I can feel that the music all around me instead of being like this.
Mm.
So I would drive me crazy, and I don't put myself in that situation.
Thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of overwhelm when it comes to crowds, but then there's sometimes where you can do something and it feels good. So I like to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Appreciate.
and imagine it too as the reflector. Everybody's in so much joy,
Oh,
right? Like everybody's having like they've been looking forward to this for months, like they're seeing their favorite bands and they're like,
so
"Oh
true.
my gosh, I get to do this." And so everybody's having like the best day ever,
Yeah.
in their happy place. And so it's like it puts me in such joy, and I get to go really fun places. I travel for it. I'm going to Iceland in a couple weeks to go see some music in like this world-renowned music hall, and I get to go to places like Red Rocks Amphitheater, and like the Beatles played there, and like I mean it's just ancient, like the dinosaurs walked there. I mean it's just I get to go to so many amazing places and with my friends and having fun, and everybody's having the best day ever. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, oh, I can feel that. That's just so beautiful. I love your passion
Yeah.
for that. It's gorgeous. And thank you for sharing that. That's, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Ah,
glad you asked, because
I feel that.
I do feel that with other, with the crowds and stuff. And I feel like if we could understand it more
Yeah.
and do what's comfortable for us, and to just like really give ourselves that space. Like I know if I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna move. Like I generally go to concerts like by myself, or if I'm with my husband, he knows like if I leave, I'm uncomfortable and I went somewhere else to find a spot. Like it's all about the spot for me.
And I love that you said that too, because obviously, if you're going to a concert, 9 times out of 10, it's filled with very happy, excited people. I guess if you're going to a protest or something like that, it's completely
Right.
different vibe. So,
Yes.
different.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so very much for giving me your time. These sessions always go so fast. I've still got a lot of questions. I'll have to get you back because I'm like, I have got more questions to ask. But thank you, beautiful soul, for giving your time. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait
Oh, you're
to
so welcome.
watch and hear what you get up to and check out your shop.
Oh, wonderful. It was so great to meet you and chat with you. And I could talk about this all day. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yes, we will.